science lesson, shall we? People often ask, what is the purpose of NTR? Such an obscure stomach-churning concept that only leaves you with psychological heartache. And the answer? Well, there's two. One being a goddamn kink, and the second reasoning is to have to do with sections of our brain called the pituitary gland and hypothalamus that produce endorphins when viewed. AKA, when NTR drama is viewed, it makes our brain go brr. Adds that little brain happy that's like, drama, yummy, let's all throw in a little cheating in there. It adds that little zest to a story that makes any viewer that looks at it kind of go like, oh my god, yes! The audacity for me from these fictional characters! An example of such a story being my previous video before this about my girlfriend not here today. It's a very much a trashy NTR cheating-esque story. And especially when it comes to this case, when it comes to the drama and adding NTR element to it, we don't really care about the characters, especially when the series is quite long and it's an ongoing theme. We kind of just merely look at the characters, laugh, and move on, because it's always the audacity from me, dog. And if you know me, you know I partake in genres involving NTR drama like a whore in church on Sunday, moistenly. I love them. A series I could turn off my brain, judge fictional characters, see the creativity of situations evolving that can only be done in fiction, and adding that little cheating element to it and just making your brain go like, the drama! Love it, cannot get enough of it. I could eat that shit up all day. I don't eat shit. But before we begin, I would like to give thanks to today's sponsor, Tokyo Treat! Tokyo Treat is a monthly Japanese snack subscription box that is delivered right to your door. Not only is it delivered right to your door, but it every month also has its very own theme. This month's theme is Osaka Snackathon! Each box also comes with its very own booklet that has details on Japanese history, as well as details of all the snacks inside of it, including any potential allergies. Each snack you get is also full size. And in every box there is a full bag of seasonal Kit Kats. Now there are a lot of snacks to try, it is literally filled to the brim, but I think I'm going to go ahead and try the Ramune Dorayaki because that's very interesting. Ramune is Japanese soda, so I'm wondering how like sweet will taste like that. Whoa! That is not what I thought. It really does taste like ramen. If you too would like to experience Tokyo Treat, then please check out my links in my description and use coupon code Sydsnap for $5 off your first Tokyo Treats box. Thank you again to Tokyo Treats, and now back to the video. So when I saw a manga series called, and this is the whole name by the way, My Fiance is in Love with My Little Sister, I rubbed my hands together like a goddamn villain. I tucked myself in and I was looking forward to eating good that day. Little did I goddamn know. Because I thought every series with this kind of title is usually very predictable. It's very much like, oh, the main female lead walks in onto her fiance and little sister doing it and it's like, right, I'm gonna get revenge. I'm gonna show you karma like nobody's ever goddamn seen it. You're probably all gonna die. And then along the way, she finds her real true love. That's what I was preparing for. Not this emotional trauma train wreck! This NTR psychological manga is nightmare fuel. Let me set the scene for you. Imagine you are the female lead, and your name is Ilya. You are engaged to the love of your life, Soleil. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm gonna be saying it. Who's a very handsome and capable character who has a very high position in terms of ranks of the monarchy, marquise, whatever, I don't know. He's a step above their family. His family's above theirs, but they're engaged. Now, Ilya deeply, deeply loves Soleil. They have been engaged since she was a child, and she has been trained to be the perfect wife for him. However, Soleil is always just like, whatever, it's an arranged marriage, I don't really care, I don't give a shit about you, I don't love you. And so, because of that, they never really interacted much, they never saw each other too much throughout their lives. And this is where the beginning starts, because we begin with Ilya being ready to just about get married to Soleil, but decides to, see him again real quick before their wedding, and decides to stupidly, obviously looking back at now, my hindsight for 20, she stupidly brings her little sister, Sylvia. Now, Sylvia is Ilya's younger half-sister. She is known for being incredibly beautiful, bright, innocent, and she is definitely the favorite of everybody surrounding both of them. Sylvia is the daughter of a neighboring kingdom's princess who'd had an affair with Ilya's dad, who was the princess's knight. And that was how Sylvia was made. And even though her, Ilya's dad was married to somebody else, that's how they had Ilya, and she became the big sister, he ended up obviously knocking up the other princess. But not long after giving birth to Sylvia, the princess died, so Sylvia was brought over to go live with Ilya's family. Now, Ilya's dad deeply loved the princess, and therefore he very much favors Sylvia. And thus, also, Ilya's mom, weirdly, also really loves Sylvia more than Ilya. It's a whole thing. But Sylvia is a very sickly girl and very rarely ever leaves her room. That is why this is the first time she will ever be meeting Ilya's fiance. And right when they both meet, it is instant love at first sight for both of them. Much to Ilya's dismay. Now, Ilya immediately clocks on. She's seeing this shit right in front of her. She's like, bitch, I'm right in here. Can you, close your goddamn goo-goo eyes for me? I'm your goddamn fiance. And she kept calling them out for ages because they'd be like, oh, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're looking at. Gaslighting her, essentially. She doesn't know what she's looking at. But she could tell that they were meeting up in secret. They were sending secret love letters, that they were clearly having an affair. All of this kept happening within the period of about 2 years, even after Ilya and Soleil got married. And you'd be thinking, well, if Soleil loves, Sylvia, then why isn't he with her? Well, because Sylvia's a sickly girl. This is an arranged marriage. If he was gonna choose somebody else in that same family, then it wouldn't be somebody who's sick. Second of all, Ilya was trained her whole life to be married to Soleil. Sylvia doesn't know anything about how to be a proper wife. Either way, this was ongoing, and the whole time Ilya, still being very much in love with Soleil, kept trying to stop it, kept trying to cut in the way, and just was, of course, very upset, very cold to her little sister. And this just keeps going on and on and on until suddenly, one day, while Ilya and her husband are at dinner, they are informed that Sylvia was murdered by a bunch of random bandits. And Soleil, in his very depressive, shocked state, was just like, bet, all right, she's dead. It's because of you, Ilya. I fucking know it. Don't even lie. Motherfucker took a second to think about. He didn't even process it. He's just like, it was Ilya. Don't say less. So he decides to take Ilya and lock her up in a prison and starve her to death. He had no proof, by the way. This was literally just a conjecture. This was just him I bet you did it. And so, as Ilya laid there slowly starving to death on the bottom of a cold cell, she closes her eyes, wakes up, and guess where the she is? Right back in time to the exact moment that Soleil and Sylvia met and fell in love at first sight. Yes, this is a time loop one, and a very painful one. Just listen, just let me sit down and tell you more. Because this manga is all about Ilya being trapped in time in this loop, constantly going back to the period where her little sister and her fiance that she deeply loves meet and fall in love. But this time is the first time she ever went back. This time is the first time she's ever seen this and it's was everything just a dream? Was that everything just really weird? I don't know. So she decides this time to just kind of ensure that nothing happens to Sylvia, that she remains alive, and hopefully she can try and make Soleil look at her this time, maybe fall in love with her, and then she thinks, maybe if we have a kid together, he will come to love me. As a lot of just random plots in trashy manga seem to have that thought process. So Soleil does end up getting Ilya pregnant, and she's of course overjoyed. But when he finds out, he's just like, okay, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Even when the doctors were just like, hey, this is a really dodgy pregnancy. This is, you should take really good care of your wife. He's like, bet. And he pieces out to go by be Sylvia. And he just ends up ghosting Ilya throughout her whole pregnancy. She was suffering a lot. It was a very hard pregnancy. She was trying desperately for him to come and care about their child that she's pregnant with. And he's just like, I don't care. I'm only at the Sylvia side. I don't. So when she ends up giving birth to the baby, Ilya does end up passing away. Before she could even hold the child or even see it, she dies. And from that point on, when Ilya goes back again for the second time, she, of course, gets a bit disturbed. She literally just gave birth to a baby, the baby she loved, she bonded, she wanted, and never even got to see it, never even got to hold it. I'm not a parent, but the thought alone, you spend all this time with your baby that you love, it's your baby, you're holding it in your stomach, you can't wait to see it, and you never even get the chance to. So she comes back mentally disturbed, okay? Everyone around her is just being like, well, something's clearly not right. She's not well in the head. Her parents end up putting bars on the windows because she keep trying to escape, trying to just get out, and she couldn't. And at this point, she's just like, all right, I'm just gonna hang myself, and she dies, goes back again for the third time. And then from that point on, it's hundreds of timelines where she is trying to escape from this hellhole where she's still in love with this guy somehow, but knows that at this point, there's no escaping with him loving her in the end. She would do things like run away with a knight that fell in love with her, but in the end would get both of them killed because she is somebody who was engaged to somebody very high up and they don't want to lose face. She would run away herself, but then in the end get abducted and then trafficked and sold to a brothel where she's continuously raped every day. But she would end up getting rescued from the brothel, albeit very thin, very sick, and she came home to find out that Soleil and Sylvia did end up getting married and having children together. So she would be stuck in their house every day listening to them being in love, taking care of their babies, and she'd just be laying in bed dying, and she did die to that. She would try just staying in her room, barely interacting with people, but then somehow assassins would come in and kill her. But in each and every single timeline, no matter what she did, no matter how hard she tried to escape, she was still, of course, very in love with Soleil, and Soleil never chose her. He would always continuously choose to be with Sylvia. Some of the timelines, he would knock her up. Some of the timelines, they'd be like, please, we're in love with each other. I understand you guys need to get married, but can you guys just have an arrangement where him and I can just be together? And nobody was ever on Ilya's side in every single timeline. She would go through all of this constant hell nonstop. And what gets me every fucking time is every timeline she is in love with this motherfucker. She still, part of why this manga gets my goat, part of why I wanted to make this video is because it hurts. This manga hurts me. Why in the loving would you see this guy, who has the personality of a blank wall, of a piece of shit, and be like, okay? Because some of these timelines, he actually kills her. He just full on just murders her, and I do not understand where in the brain, why psychologically, how could you look at somebody, the last thing you see is you being betrayed by somebody, and then you close your eyes, wake up, they're right there back in time, and you be like, I still love you. We can still make it work. What? There's clearly not therapy in this manga because Lord knows she would have tried that many loops ago. And another thing that I find really interesting and different about this manga is that it's hard to hate any of the characters besides Soleil. I fucking hate him. But her sister isn't a villainess type personality. She's very sweet, very much clearly loves her sister and just cares about what happens with her. She doesn't have this affair with no guilty feelings involved. She's still just a stupid bitch girl. I hate her, fucking hate her. Like, there are definitely timelines where the sister did do some villainy things, like she would lie to Soleil saying like, oh, Ilya has a secret lover, and Soleil would be like, okay, that was my final push I needed, let's go get married now. But besides that, and obviously continuously cheating with her sister's fiance, neither of them are the people who are continuing this time loop. I don't know when I read this manga who to be so angry towards, besides of course the cheaters. The main female lead frustrates me, but it's written in such a way that it's almost understandable, her feelings of not being able to move on, somewhat understandable because, okay, no. You know what? I'm not even gonna finish that because it's not understandable. If the murder thing wasn't involved, also the cheating, but it's hard to let go of love. So I don't know if I could still love I don't know. I guess her whole life she was raised to love somebody and it's kind of hard to think of not loving them. But I will say, may Soleil burn in the fucking goddamn fires of hell. Another thing that scares me about this manga is I am so very frightened that the ending is going to be Soleil finally looks at her and they escape the time loop and end up together happily ever after because they were the real soulmates the whole time. And the reason I fear that is there was a chapter that after a few hundred times of going back in time and being killed by your husband or just dying or him just constantly choosing your little sister, even though you still love him, you will start to feel a little cold towards them. You will feel, hey, I know you don't love me, so I'm not really gonna interact or care about you. And it was during those timelines when Soleil was like, why doesn't she care about me? Maybe I want her. But obviously in the end, he never actually chose her because Sylvia's the easy lay right over in there. But it worries me. God, it worries me. This better not be a peak. This better not be a Chekhov's gun situation. Let that gun poop that bullet out the fucking back, bitch. That better not be firing. But no matter how much emotional torture this manga puts me through, no matter how much pain, the writing keeps me addicted. It keeps me going because we just keep constantly seeing and hoping and praying that she finally gets out of this hellhole, so that she finally is able to find a good ending, because the emotional circumstances she goes through is a lot every single time. This girl has been tortured, murdered, so many things, and having to constantly, of course, relive the same timeline. You're never getting chosen. She also ends up learning stuff she didn't want to learn about. She finding out that her mom never loved her. No one around her ever cared about her. No one's ever been on her side. This on top of everything else? Of course she's slowly gonna start going crazy. Of course she's going to start feeling numb and just not care anymore. But really, the number one thing that keeps me coming back, besides hoping things are gonna get better, besides wanting to give this poor girl a hug, is I don't know where the ending is going to be. I don't know how it's going to end. Usually when you start it, you think, hey, there's gonna be a happy ending. She's gonna get out of this. But the constant torture of this girl, I wouldn't be surprised if they just end it with her being stuck in this loop forever. That'd be a very lazy way, and I would riot, but I wouldn't be surprised. But no matter what, being able to read a manga that is literally just, again, a loop, and having the writing in each chapter still be so good, not being repetitive, making you still hope and wonder, and really just when you getting that hope dashed and excruciatingly just constantly want a good ending for this girl. It's amazing to me. Because I really don't like usually time loopy series because they do get repetitive. It gets uneasily predictable, but definitely not this one. It keeps it. And one of the hardest part is how slow the release for this manga is. It started in 2020 and there's only 4 volumes out, so it's only been like 1 volume each year. Each time any chapter comes out, you bet I am on that like a fly on shit. I need to see and ensure something good happens finally. And sometimes it does. We get a little slice of reprieve, but a lot of times we don't. We end up caring about Ilya. We end up seeing these circumstances, seeing everything that's happening to her, hoping, praying things will somehow change. Sometimes they do, but obviously they don't really. But the writing really draws you into how non-black and white the story is. It's not this character's a villain, or this is the real male lead, or this is the way that things are gonna go. It doesn't show you a path that they can get. It doesn't show you anything. You literally get shown something and don't really know what else is gonna go on beyond that. Honestly, if you are looking for a heart-wrenching series to get into that will leave you depressed and wanting more, then yeah, Jesus Christ, this is an emotional, it's not even a roller coaster, this is an emotional sucker. This sucks all happiness out of you and leaves you a husk. Then yeah, you really, you won't go wrong with this one. I can only hope that she somehow gets out of this loop, that Solil and her sister actually get murdered and die horrible deaths, because I don't understand, first of all, I don't understand why that wasn't in any loop. I would never, if that was her and I knew I was in a time loop, I would be murdering them at least a few times. But maybe I was the villain the whole time. Maybe I was the villain along the way. But either way, NTR will never be the same again. Nothing is good anymore. Goodbye. I'm kidding. But please make sure to check out this manga. I just wanted to talk about it. Thank you for watching to the end. God, even just talking about it hurts. I will see you guys next month. And yeah, it's been a real goddamn treat. Adios, amigos. Johnny! Bye-bye!